I can't believe it's been 10 years since this film came out. It is such a masterpiece. The cinematography, the writing, the acting, everything about this movie is just incredible. This has to be one of the best films of the decade, of the past 20 years, maybe ever. There's really nothing else like this. And even though it's based on a true story, it feels like something that could have been made up because it's so insane. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about this film. So obviously, this movie is based on a true story. It's actually based off of a memoir called 12 Years a Slave by Solomon Northup. He wrote this memoir in 1853, but it didn't actually get published until 1968, so it was a long time after these events had occurred. So anyway, this story takes place in the 1840s. So in 1841, Solomon Northup was a free black man living in New York. He had a wife and 2 daughters, and he was a violinist who traveled around doing concerts and stuff, but one day he gets tricked into becoming a slave. Basically, there are these 2 guys that he knew from his past who show up to him saying they want to hire him as a musician for a gig. So they take him to Washington, D.C. and basically drug him, and then sell him to slave traders, and then they take him down south. So yeah, basically at the beginning of the movie, he's sold to this guy named William Ford, and he becomes a house slave for him. But then William Ford ends up dying, and then Solomon is sold again. And this time he becomes a field hand working on a cotton plantation. And this is where most of the movie takes place. And this is where he suffers horrific abuse at the hands of his new master, Edwin Epps. That's the character played by Michael Fassbender. So this is where most of the movie takes place. He's working in the fields all day under the hot sun. He has to do hard labor. He gets beaten if he doesn't work hard enough or fast enough or whatever. He also has to watch his friend get beaten to death right in front of him, which is one of the most brutal things I've ever seen in a movie. There's another slave named Patsy, who is played by Lupita Nyong'o, who becomes a field hand along with Solomon, and she suffers sexual abuse at the hands of Edwin Epps. He constantly tries to take advantage of her, and that leads to some pretty intense confrontations between him and Solomon. And eventually, Solomon is able to buy his freedom with the help of a Canadian abolitionist named Bass. The way this movie is shot, the way it looks is incredible. It really puts you in the shoes of these slaves and makes you feel their pain. There's one scene where Solomon is out in the field working and the camera literally shakes and moves like he is running through tall grass. Like he's running from something, and it is done so well. Like when I watched this in theater, I was physically It really felt like I was in that field with him. And you can tell that Chiwetel Ejiofor and Michael Fassbender did an incredible job bringing this story to life. Because this is not their story. These are not their ancestors. They were not alive during that time period. So they had to do research. They had to go into these roles and become these people in a way. And they both did such an amazing job. Chiwetel Ejiofor, as Solomon, is so strong and charismatic. You just root for him the whole time. You just want him to get out of this situation and just be happy and free. And Michael Fassbender as Edwin Epps is so disturbing. There is one scene where he is at this party and he is singing and dancing and having a good time and laughing and being super friendly and nice to everyone. And then he goes back to his room and he's beating his slaves. His property, you know. He owns them. And it's just so disturbing to see this contrast between these 2 sides of him. And Fassbender does such a great job portraying this guy. Another standout performance is Lupita Nyong'o as Patsy. She plays this role with so much heart. You really feel for her character. You know? She has a very small role in the grand scheme of things, but she leaves an impact. And Alfor Woodard as Mistress Shaw is also fantastic. She's one of the first people that Solomon meets when he arrives at the Ford plantation. And she is super nice to him. And she sees how intelligent he is and how he can read and write and stuff. And she treats him more like a human being than the other characters do. But as the movie goes on, she kind of changes. She becomes more cold towards Solomon. And it's interesting to see why that is. But yeah, those are all really good performances. There are a few scenes in this movie that stand out to me as being some of the best filmmaking ever. Especially this one scene that I mentioned before, where Solomon is working in the field and the camera shakes. But there's also this one scene where Solomon and another slave, he's a guy named Tabitz, played by Paul Giamatti. They are being whipped for not working fast enough or something, and Tabitz gets whipped and then he runs away. And when this happens, Solomon thinks he should run away too, but he decides not to. And we get this close-up of his face as he's making this decision. And it's filmed so well. It's like the whole movie is in black and white, and then suddenly there's a splash of color, and it's just this close-up of Chiwetel Ejiofor's eye. And it is just powerful filmmaking. It's one of the most powerful scenes I've ever seen in a movie, and there are a few other really good ones, too. One where Solomon is working in the house for William Ford, and he is dusting this shelf and he knocks something over and then William Ford slaps him. And again, it's just the way they filmed it. It's like, oh my God, I'm right there. And another one where Solomon and Patsy are walking through the woods together, and they re-talking about how much they miss their families and stuff. And there's just so much emotion in this movie. And it's just portrayed so well by the actors, and it's filmed so well by the director Steve McQueen. The thing about this movie that I think makes it so powerful is that it's not just showing the worst of slavery. It shows the psychological aspect of it too. It shows how it affects the minds of these people. We see Solomon become more hardened as the movie goes on. At the beginning of the movie, he's super optimistic and hopeful. He thinks he is gonna be out of this situation soon and everything is gonna be okay. But as the movie goes on and he experiences more abuse, he becomes more jaded and angry and bitter. And that's this one scene where he is sitting by himself and the other slaves are celebrating Christmas and we're having a good time, and he is just sitting there alone being sad. And it really makes you think about what these people went through. It's not just physical abuse, it's also psychological abuse. It's them taking your hope. It's them making you feel less than human. It's them stripping you of your identity. It's so powerful. Another thing that I want to mention is the soundtrack for this film. It is so good. It's mostly classical music. That's what they were playing back then. But they also have some original compositions in here that they wrote specifically for the film. And that's this one song that plays a lot in the film called 12 Years a Slave that is just beautiful. Hans Zimmer actually worked on the score for this film. But yeah, the soundtrack is so good. It's definitely worth a listen. Okay, I'm gonna stop rambling now. If you've never seen this movie, please watch it. It is available on a streaming service, and I think everyone should watch it. It's such an important story that needs to be told, and it's done so well. I highly recommend it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.